right, episode 39, New Year resolution. Why January 1st? This is an interesting concept, but let me give you some context, right? Some people just need motivation for New Year's resolution, right? They need to have that little push over the edge. New Year, I'm going to do something better, blank. And unfortunately, it's kind of like having mismanaged goals, right? They're a little too extreme. Hey, you should have a big dream that inspires you to be a better person. The only issue is when you can't measure it via steps and goals, it's really hard to hold yourself accountable, especially when it's like lose weight and then you lose the weight. And then guess what the reward is for losing the weight? If you want to not gain the weight, you have to keep doing what you've been doing. So you could say, I lost 30 pounds. Well, how did you lose it? By not eating blank. It's like, oh, well, I like eating blank. There you go. It has to be a habit, a way of living. But I digress. So here's some of the New Year's resolutions. If you look them up, it says spend more time with family, drink less soda, increase the money, lose weight, learn something new, learn a new language, volunteer, visualize your goal, meal prep. There's like 15 of these. Random acts of kindness, travel to new places, be positive. That's funny. Become a mentor. All right. Clean out your wardrobe. So be organized. Clean your room. Compliment someone. Date night. Cook more at home. That's funny. Doesn't that already conflict with date night? Cook more at home. Anyway, quit smoking. Eat better. Get organized. And clean out your wardrobe. Some of these like overlap. Make a plan. Sleep more. 8, take breaks. That's an interesting one. Ask for feedback. Yeah, that's funny. All kinds of stuff. And there's another one where it says 9 to 12% of people keep their New Year's resolution. A 2016 study. We got a 2007 study. And let's see. Then we got someone else saying reasons people to justify their New Year's resolutions for failing. Losing motivation is 35%. Being too busy is 19%. Shift in goals and priorities, so things change or you just didn't care about it, I guess, 18%. And 28% don't even know why. But this is interesting. It says losing motivation, which means motivation is fleeting. Now, I say all this to make this point. I didn't here to recite you stuff you can look up on Google. I want you to understand why New Year's, as the title suggests. Why New Year's? Why does it have to be January 1st you decide, I'm going to get my act together? Because January 1st is the passing of time. You're able to recognize that, holy crap, a year has gone by. Now, granted, for you, it's your birthday. But for the world standard, it's that point in time. And you're not going to be successful because you kiss strangers in clubs. You're going to be successful. You can be successful right now by taking the steps right now. Very simple talk. What I'm saying is you don't need to have a proverbial date or moment to justify taking action. It's a very dangerous mindset, right? Like, well, how many New Year's do you need to justify doing the right thing for yourself? You're gonna look at your watch and be like, oh my goodness, I guess I'll start losing weight. I already messed up, so I gotta wait another 360 plus days before I try again. You could try again now. Right now. I'll try again next month. Now, I understand when we have holidays, right? Like, December. I mean, I'm no church, but I do notice in months of summer and whatnot, church attendance drops like crazy, and it's bad when the pastors make jokes about it. Like that, there you go. Like you can feel it, but that's because everyone's not quitting church; they're just going on summer vacation, right? It's a thing you have to learn. I'm again not a pastor. It's just funny how they crack jokes like that. But it's easy to take it personally. Now here's my point: holidays, events, school, There's so many external things, right? The issue is to allow the external things to compromise the internal things that will always be within you, which is, I can do it now, regardless of the year. This is also true for goals. You might hear a lot of talk, because it's like the flavor of the month, which is have goals, right? Oh, you gotta have goals. You don't have goals, you're sucking. You gotta have a dream or a vision or a proverbial way of life you want to orient your life to be. You know, for example, let's say I want to be an Olympic athlete. Well, they're probably at the gym and eating pretty well, right? They're taking care of their body. It seems to be the instrument to get the job done. And then the goals is everything in between, the very myopic stuff. Wake up at this time, do this and that. So the goals are like this proverbial steps. And the goal doesn't need to be extreme. I think a lot of times we confuse goals with dreams, right? Like, oh, my resolution is to have a six-pack abs. So I'm just going to go to the gym and do 1,000 crunches every day. And you get to 998 for 2 days straight. And you're like, this sucks. Well, then just do, 20 crunches. Do what's within reason. That would be the goal. And if you can increase it, great. I think that's the biggest problem, is that we get overwhelmed. Get overwhelmed, you know? What if I told you, hey, you have to write a book? We have this thing called Parkinson's law. Parkinson's disease. I don't know if I'm using the correct term here, but basically it was saying, actually I might as well look into it now. I'm doing this in real time. Spans, yeah, so work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. So what it's saying is you'll have a greater sense of urgency if you put a time limit, right? Does it work for everyone? Yeah, obviously the answer is yes and no. Like, does it work for you? Great. If it doesn't, great. Like, just figure out what works for you. I don't like being vague, but it's necessary to understand that everyone's different and everyone has their yeses and nos, what works for them. So for me to say this is a catch-all silver bullet is kind of like the height of hubris and a scam, honestly. It worked for me. So it's kind of like meditation, right? There's actually like over 300 different types of meditation, not just the one where you sit there with your legs crossed. That's like the most basic, memed out one. But so Parkinson's law is basically suggesting that you need to put a time limit. So when you have a goal, it's like, okay, what's the time? And how much time do I have to do it? And how much do I have to do? The reality of it is, these are all vague questions, because, well, what the hell can you do? That's a very, very specific question. I mean, it's like, what's the standard? I guess that's a good question. What can you do? You can look up in Google, what is the average necessary workout required to get six packs, but then you have to factor in, are you a man? It's going to straight up ask you, are you a man? Are you a woman? What's your age? What's your testosterone level? What's your genetics? What's your, all these factors? So the answer is yes. You're looking for what do I have to do to be, quote, successful in this thing I want? And the answer is, I would say whatever it takes. I say yes to everything. With that, I want to encourage you with this. 12%. What do the 12% have that we don't? You don't. It's 90%, 88 to 90% of people are just failing miserably within like the first couple weeks. So it's you could say there's like crisis level holding ourselves accountable. And you could say things change. Oh, that's not important. Okay. I mean, health and wealth is pretty important. Your spiritual life, yeah, those are all pretty important things. It's going to catch up to you, right? So to put it on the back burner is pretty logical. I'm not going to say what you want or you didn't want it bad enough. It's just I believe the goals that were set were a little vague. So again, let's say I want to write a book. Well, what are you willing to do on a daily basis? Or bi-daily? Or every 3 days, right? Like what can you do as a baseline level? Bare minimum. Well, I can write a paragraph. Okay. Then do a paragraph. Well, I have a writer's block. All right, well, sit down there till you don't have until it gets unblocked. I don't know, figure it out. But I hate saying figure it out, but it's true. It's like, what do you need to do to get that ball rolling? There's this thing called marshmallow effect, and I already did talk about long term thinking, but it's kind of funny. They had this marshmallow procedure they did on kids, and saying like if you, it was like 80% of kids would eat the marshmallow, only 20% would wait for 5 minutes and get another marshmallow. So basically, long term thinking, frontal lobe level stuff. They knew if they waited, they would get double for their trouble. But some kids couldn't wait; they just ate it instantly. So that suggests to our population it's the same thing. If I don't get results instantly, I'm going to stop. So then we have to change how we view these New Year resolutions. It's like, well, what was we say busy, lack of motivation. But what is motivation? Motivation is this. Well, I gotta look that up too. Let's just do that now. Motivation is the eternal state that drives people to act in a way that achieves a goal. It's a complex phenomenon that studies in fields like psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy. Oh boy, how to stay motivated? Regularly reviewing your goals and progress, setting new goals, finding mentors, surround yourself with positive people. So the answer here is immersion. You need to be completely immersed into it, and to say you get distracted or too busy suggests that you're doing things that are counterintuitive or not conducive to the result you want. When I say Olympic athlete, it's like, okay, you want to be an Olympic gold medalist athlete? Well, you have to do what they do, but more importantly, it's like, where does video games fit? It's probably not there. There's other vices outside of video games taking up your time, but it's like, where does that fit? Answer: it doesn't. All your time is being spent immersion. You're in there practicing. You're in there whatever. So you're screwed. So I guess you're probably thinking, well, Andre, does that mean I have to be at the gym all day? Probably not. But it needs to become a habit. See what's saying here? I'm using that as an example. How can you ingratiate into your life like a habit? Because once it becomes habitual, it doesn't matter. Habits work both ways. They can be for your positive or detriment. If you believe the science also says that if you do it for at least 21 days, that's how you form a habit. Consequently, it takes 21 days of not doing something to break the habit. Let's be honest here. If I play a video game, like let's say League of Legends, but then I realize I don't want to play this game anymore because it pisses me off. No, my teammates don't want to work with me. It just sucks. It's a waste of my time. Okay, if I don't play the game for 21 days, then my mind is going to literally say, I have no need, you have no desire for it. You would rather do something else more entertaining. That's the thing, though. The time is gone, but you need to fill it with something else. So then the question is, where is that time going? What I'm trying to say is this. When you want to get rid of something successfully, any addiction, any issues, again, I'm not a psychologist in that degree, it takes time and energy. So you're going to have to replace that or transmute that time and energy to something else. So you want to get the six pack, okay, you got to go to the gym, but then it's like, what did I sacrifice to go to the gym? What was the sacrifice? Something had to be exchanged for that commitment. Because I was committed to something else, unless I was just, on the couch collecting Cheeto dust. And if you can honor that commitment for 21 days, it becomes a habit, then it's no longer a commitment. That's just what you do. Like brushing your teeth just becomes natural and second nature. You don't see anyone else saying, which is kind of funny, you don't see anyone saying, oh man, I need a class on how to brush my teeth. No, it's easy. You do it in the morning. It's already there in the privacy of your own home. Pretty damn easy. You can even argue that you can do crunches at your own house. You don't really need any gym equipment. If you're really desperate, you can use the ground you're on. So, not a crazy talk, but I wanted you to understand that waiting for a new year to justify doing positive things is kind of foolish. And it's very unfortunate that it takes us to, it almost, it takes the passing of time, passing of wasted time for us to start valuing our time. Don't do that. If you're some youngling right now, imagine yourself right now at the age of 30, 10 years, whatever years it needs to be. Use that frontal lobe and project yourself into the future and say, let's say I am where I am right now, just 10 years from now. How pissed would you be? No six pack, no whatever your New Year resolution was. But then recognize it doesn't need to be the passing of the year or time or the calendar, but really just the thoughts of yourself. And to bring this back to a biblical sense, let's see. Let's see. In Luke chapter 15, verse 17 says, and when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and need to spare, and I perish with hunger? This is the story of the prodigal son when Jesus was doing one of his parables. And in this story, it does not say after the new year the kid came to himself. It does not say the Holy Spirit descended like a dove and he just, or his homies came by him and they rebuked him and told him, you're crazy being in this hog pen and eating slop. Like, what are you doing, man? Get your act together. No. It says, verbatim, when he came to himself. King James Version. So that indicates to me the passing of time is a one way for you to come to yourself or take your time more seriously. But I guess another thing is to recognize you can come to yourself. You can come to your own senses and conclusions. I think we give us an out, right? We like to glorify the youth, unfortunately, and say, well, I was young and dumb and that justifies my failures. Well, the comical thing is I met people that are older and they're still kind of dumb and immature and self-grandizing and egotistical and you know how it goes. I'm sure you met some people. Age alone is not enough for wisdom. It'd be nice. That'd be awesome. Every increment of 10 years, every increment of 5 years, your IQ increases tenfold. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be the case. So, if you get nothing out of this, let it be this. Do not allow time to be your idol. Right? Oh, in 5 years, blank. Well, why not now? Serious question. Why not now? Well, it takes time. No. Seriously, like let's say, what is stopping you from doing it now, right now? Why is it such a time constraint? It's a serious question. You have to answer that because I'm not there with you. But why, in the future, I'm going to have blank. Well, why not now? Well, that's instant gratification. I thought we were against that. No, yeah, you're right. That's true. However, for the sake of understanding and just curiosity sense, why not now? Well, because I got blank. Well, there it is. Great. Identify the reasons and see, can you still get results regardless of them? That would be impressive. And with that, hopefully that made you recognize not to make time an idol and to take action regardless. Don't allow a date or event to justify action. Kind of the same way how we have to have these days. I did a previous talk way back in the day, but when it was, we just got married. Oh, it's my birthday. Oh, we got engaged. Oh, it's my girlfriend's birthday. And that's why we're going out and getting steak. Right? That's why we're going out and celebrating. And there's a time for that. However, why is it that when we live our lives, we only live when we have a reason? Same concept. I need to have a reason to do it. Anytime you need a reason to do something, once that reason is gone, you will cease to do it. And that's good and bad depending on the context. I'm only going to be a good blank when this is consistent. You need to allow the good things to be consistent regardless of the circumstances. Let me say it this way. If your commitment is conditional to the circumstances, you're cracked. It's basically inevitable. You're screwed. It's not going to sustain itself. I think our greatest respect goes to things that are consistent, right? You may not like snakes, but you respect them because they're pretty consistent. They make a sound and they bite your ankles. The sun, you may not like the sun, but you put on sunscreen. You know why? Because the sun is consistent. It will cook you, irregardless. It doesn't ask questions. Disease is pretty consistent. All these things in our world that are renowned and known are consistent. If you want to have any respect and have any, I guess, I don't want to say fame, but I think if you want your own self-respect, which inadvertently ascertains the respect of other people, then you need to be consistent. And honestly, don't be like me. I'm just telling you straight up. Isn't it funny how people are known for their consistency? But consistent in what? And then consistent in blank, and that's what they're known for. They don't just haphazardly do stuff. They consistently keep doing it. Why do you go to McDonald's? The fries and shakes are consistently there. When you came back the next day, you get to order number one. It's a steak. It's like, well, it's nice, but it's not what I want. So, with that, recognize that you don't need to make time an idol, the passing of time an idol to justify action, and take whatever steps forward that you can hold yourself accountable to, and then make improvements or increase the intensity. But whatever it is, the first step's got to be something that you can within reason do. And if you can't, well, adjust the weight. Just because I can't do 3 plates doesn't mean I can't do a plate on the bench. Perspective. All depends where you're at. And then over time you get stronger. I don't like using gym analogies, but they're pretty easy to comprehend, right? Alright, with that, I think I beat the dead horse. So, let's say it's January in the making of this. It's January, so who knows when I'll upload it. But it's definitely not January 1st, that Wednesday. And a lot of people already drop off from the New Year's resolution. But here's the thing. The new year can begin just like you're the prodigal son at Luke chapter 15, verse 17. Come to your own senses. You can make a change today, not just on a particular day. All right, deuces. I'll see you next time.